long travel. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of Dirtnation Off-Road. So today we are bringing you a Tacoma upgrade wrenching video. We're going to be doing some cool stuff to our Tacoma. What are we doing today? Well, we are going to be doing a long travel kit. Now, a little bit of backstory on this Tacoma. We've had it for a long time now. It's actually, I bought it brand new back in 2017. We started this YouTube channel with this truck, and we really have beat the crap out of it. We built it. You can go back to the very first video, see this truck nearly stock, and then to where it is right now, as built it as it is, and everything that we've done to it. This truck's been here doing some things. It's my daily driver, but this truck's kind of been chilling in the background for the past couple years as we've gotten a little bit more into the rock crawling stuff and tow pigs and all the fun things that we've been doing, especially with you right there. Hi there. Anyways, my point is, I want to give this truck some much needed attention. Now, in a previous video, we went over a experiment, I want to say, that we did with the Tacoma. You guys can check that video out down below, but we tried to do something different with the front suspension, because the front suspension is where the biggest liability lies on this truck. Everything else has been kind of built. It's got lockers, it's got, freaking 63 swap in the rear, flex is really good. It's got all the cool bells and whistles that you'd want on your truck. The front, we've wanted to do some things for a while now, and I've been considering for years, do I do a long travel kit? Do I do a freaking SAS? What do I want to do with it? Down the line, we might look at some of those things, but what we're going to be doing today, and what this truck's going to be sitting on, is a long travel kit from Wicked Creations. Check it out. So this is the 3.5, so it's going to widen your width by 3.5 inches. They also offer a 5-inch kit for, I think it's Broncos, 4Runners, Tacomas, a couple other vehicles, but we have the 3.5. Now, the reason that I decided to go with the 3.5 is because of the axles. Because down the line, not right now and not in this video, but at some point I'm going to put RCVs on this truck. RCV makes a plus 3.5. They don't make a plus 5 as far as I know. So I want to make sure that as I build this, I'm going to build it solid, right? I'm going to build this thing to where I can beat the living crap out of it just as much as I beat the living crap out of these trucks right here. So in doing that, we're going to need RCVs. We're going to need some strength up front. So in the meantime, when we get our 3.5 kit put together, we're going to eventually put some RCVs on. But for now, this is what we're going to be working with. So what do we have? We have some double shears, we have some lower arms, we have some upper arms, we have limit straps, we have some hardware. This is for the limit strap as well. And then we have tie rod extensions, and then I'm putting on brand new tie rods. In addition, I have axles. They are on the way. Wicked Creations is actually sending them out to me. They were getting those made. And then I have some coilovers coming from King that are specifically for the long travel kit. So right now, with all of that said, I got to get started with jacking this truck up. We got to start tearing this thing apart. We're going to tear off all the old IFS suspension stuff, and then we're going to start throwing this all together. So as we tear it apart, and when we go farther in the video, we'll talk about some of the things going on with this, because we got some cool things. But for now, it's destruction. Let's start tearing apart the Tacoma. All right, quick update. I bonked my head super hard trying to take the axle nut off. My impact wasn't doing it, so I tried it by hand, and then I flunk, and now I have a lump right here. Split my forehead, squished the nose, and we're doing good. Things are great. As for taking apart stuff, it's pretty much almost all the way done. I got to take off the control arm on that side. But what I wanted to show you guys real quick, because one of the upgrades we're making is going to solve the issue that I have right here. So this is the upper control arm bolt. You can see how I cut it off right there. That's because this whole thing is bent, but I had a really hard time taking it off, and that is also the case with this side. This one's also bent to where I'm not able to take it off. Here's why I can show you how it's bent. See how it's wobbling? It's not supposed to wobble. So that's what the double shears, which are right over there, that's going to help fix that problem. But we're going to end up putting those on. But for now, I got to get this control arm off and that one off, get the axle out, and then a couple other things that we're working on. So Christy's working on the spindle, because our spindle gusset is actually cracked. So another reason why you guys need to make sure you have spindle gussets, because with abuse, you can see I have a hairline crack right here. Now I have that same crack on both sides. So she's gonna weld that back up so that we're good to go on both sides. Those will be reinforced once again. But that's pretty much it for now. We're gonna continue taking stuff apart. Still waiting for my axles and my coilovers. Sorry, the concussion's setting in. It's all good. So gotta cut this off. So right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you guys how to put on the shears. Ugh. Don't drop that on my face. We're gonna have to move this out of the way. So that's going to go through there like that. All right. So this one sits good. I like how that one sits, so you can put it like that. So that one. So these are re-welded, reinforced, ready to go. Just go hit them with some black paint, and those are done. On to over here. We already sized up the shears, so she's just grinding them down, doing her thing, getting ready to put those on.
Tomorrow.
All right, day 2 of shenanigans. Let's show you where we left off yesterday. We got the double shears in, so you can see there's our reinforcements. We got those done on both sides. They're painted up, ready to go. And then both sides are torn apart. Still got to take the tie rods off on both sides. And then we just had our axles come in. We'll show you guys those right now. Fun fact, these are the stock tie rod ends that came with the truck. And look, like they're a little loose, but not bad for 120,000 miles of BS. Cool. I took care of the wiring. I cut off part of the, so there's a plastic thing on there, so I cut off half of that because normally that would run right here and then behind, but I just cut off a piece of it so that now it's still inside the plastic little thing, and that's all good to go. I think that'll do. Okay. Ah, there we go. Long travel. Okay, we gotta grease stuff. Son, remember to grease your bushings, okay? Nothing I like more than wrestling giant pieces of metal into bigger pieces of metal. All right, look at that. That is long travel, sir. Getting somewhere. Okay, next, let's do this tie rod. So we have a 3.5-inch tie rod extension, and then we have a tie rod end. So these will just thread into each other. Put a little bit of Loctite on there. Oh, that's good. Thread that all the way in. GoPro died, but here's some progress. Lower arm, upper arm, and tie rod is connected. So right now I got to get the spindle ready, put that together, and then we have our axles. So up first, here's our +3.5 axle shaft. Look at that. Oh, that's a tight axle. It's big too. Okay. actually worked. Look at that. Axle's in. Okay, there we go. So that. Okay. So that's. Okay. All right. So that's good. All right, progress update for the day. We got one side about 95% done. Let's check it out. Axle's in, lower's in. I still got some, I gotta tighten all this up still, but ABS is back in place. We're all good to go. So tune in tomorrow, possibly, hopefully tomorrow. We'll have to see. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so I hope we get a chance to work on it, but not too bad. Now the other side, I'm gonna go ahead and just do off camera. I'm not gonna really record anything. You guys saw me install one side. It's gonna be mostly the same going the other way. We're still waiting for our coilovers, but luckily our axles are here and everything else is pretty much ready to go. We just gotta throw it all together. So tune in next time. We're gonna get it all wrapped up and then we'll do test drive and all that fun stuff. Let's get it. Okay, day 4, we're continuing. You can see we are pretty much done getting everything installed. We are now on to the final piece, which is going to be coilovers. Ooh, we got gifts. We got gifts. Let's see. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's see the goodies. Oh, yeah. Oh, those are beautiful. Ta-da! So these are extended for long travel. I have a 700-pound spring. I got them directly from King, and they got a little bit of preload in there. So we're gonna see how it settles as is, and then we'll add more if we need to.
Later.
All right, hello and good morning. It's been a couple days since we've last left off working on our long travel setup. Now, currently as it sits, the long travel is on. So you can see, there it is. We're ready to go. Not ready, we're ready to go. Currently, the truck is sitting way too low in the front. Now that's because I didn't put any preload into these coilovers, so you could see them chilling right there. So first things first, today I'm going to be cranking up the coilovers to get the front to match the rear. Probably won't match, but I got to crank it up a little bit so that it's you know, the camber's correct and everything's good. We got to do that. Plus, we are still dealing with a diff issue. Now, by the time this video comes out, I've already solved that issue and had a separate video that's going to get launched beforehand. I think it's the diff mount, whatever. You guys can check that out, that video down below, when we did an experiment on the Tacoma and pretty much ruined it, which led to us getting this long travel setup in the first place. But for now, I just picked up a set. Now, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm curious. So maybe Amazon review coming soon. But I picked up a coil spring compressor on Amazon, so I'm going to be hooking that up and then, you know, seeing how well we can compress these shocks and get them ready to go so that we can crank up the truck a little bit. Should be fun. This past weekend, I hurt my knee in Johnson Valley, so things are just going great. So we got a lot going on. Hopefully we can get the truck wrapped up, you know, pretty much today or tomorrow. Get it tested out this weekend because I really want to ride on this long travel setup. I want to test it out a little bit. I want to get on some whoops, see how she does. Let's get to it. Lord help us. All right, so we got our shock back in. That's about 1.5 inches, maybe 1 3/4 inches of preload. I think that's all I'm gonna run with. I'm currently bolting it all back together. We got to take care of our tie rods. So let me grab, so we're gonna need a 15 plus a crescent wrench because, so let me explain what's going on here. Where's my measuring tape? So these tie rod extensions, these are exactly 3.5 inches long. As you can see, if I measure it, bam, 3.5 inches long. This kit is 3.5 inches, which the math makes sense, but the problem is there isn't enough threads going in. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna cut off 1/4 inch of the tie rod so that this will back it in just a little bit, and we'll still have adjustments for our toe, because currently our toe is sitting a little bit out, and we don't want that. There's a good amount of thread in there. So that goes pretty deep in there. I mean, that's pretty much all the way to this machined piece right here. So I don't even know if you could go any deeper with it. So it's not even exactly a fault of Wicked Creations unless they were to make this just a tad bit smaller. So I think, see that rusty point? I'm just gonna cut off those 3 threads right there. Heisenberg, PPE. All right, final product. No, this is like round 2 of testing. So you could see with the shocks, you know, cranked up just a little bit, it helped. It's still a little higher in the rear, but I mean, a 63 swap is so much taller than what you regularly expect from a suspension lift. So as of right now, that's where we're sitting. I drove it around a little bit. It is super soft. Not even soft like bouncy like bad. It's just, it feels nice. Now, I do need an alignment. Still need to figure out my diff issue. We're waiting for some parts. And then I might fine tune the suspension a little bit. I'm gonna go take it for a drive, get some gas, do all that stuff. And then from there, we're gonna get it all figured out. But let's get all that taken care of. I got some cleaning up to do, and then we are going to continue pretty soon. Let's get it.
1 eternity later.
All right. It has now been a couple weeks since we finished up our long travel setup. In those last couple weeks, we've gone on quite a few trips to where I feel like I can give some, you know, final thoughts on our first impressions of the Wicked Creations 3.5 inch Tacoma long travel kit. Now, before we get into final thoughts and all that stuff, I have a highlight reel of all the off-roading we've been doing with our new setup. Let's roll it. Now, I will say, I haven't gone out like to do any actual like pre-running to where I'm doing anything crazy. I'm gonna do that, and eventually I might even jump the truck, you know, to really test out this suspension, because hey, that's what I'm here to do, right? I'm here to test stuff out and make sure it works so that you guys can go out and get the stuff yourself and use it on your vehicles. But what I have done is I've done some regular trails that I've done before. We've gone on some new stuff. With some of that new stuff, we did a little bit of high-speed stuff, or I just drove faster than I would normally drive. Now, first things I will say, when I first put this kit on, I could tell the difference right away. The suspension finally works correctly, because previously I used to have 700-pound spring and I had it cranked up all the way to the max to where the spring was almost binding. It made for a very, very stiff ride, to where it was very stiff in the front, and the 63 leaf spring swap in the rear, it was soft in the rear, stiff in the front, making for a horrendous drive. Whether it be pre-running or even just driving on fire trails, it was uneven, it was awkward, it wasn't that great. Most of the time I had to go faster in order to let the front, you know, really do work, because that's what it was kind of set up to do. Now I could say I am really happy with this setup. Now there's a couple things that we've had to do along the way to kind of get this ready to go. We talked about the tie rods, how I did have to shave them down in order to get those sleeves to fit on there correctly. In the future, I'm gonna end up doing some actual tie rod sleeves so that it's beefed up with a Heim and you know, all of that fun stuff. The other thing that I had to do was I did end up putting a 1/2 inch, maybe like a 1/4 inch spacer on the top of the shock, which isn't recommended. I mean, it's a 1/4 inch, it literally does nothing. But what I ended up doing was I put more weight on the front of the truck because I put the skid plate back on. So to compensate for that weight and not wanting to make it so tall in the rear and not so tall in the front, I ended up putting that spacer in there. In addition, I did have to adjust the camber and play with it. Now, because the upper arms, you have to take them off in order to adjust the camber, you got to do it a couple times. So that's not a fault of the kit, it's just a fault of the design. That's kind of how all of them are. You have to adjust, you know, the Heims by either, you know, putting them in, backing them out, whatever you're going to do. So I had to adjust it a couple times in order to get the camber that I wanted. So you can see now my camber is sitting a lot better than it was. I might play with it a little bit more, but you'll see in like some upcoming Dirtnation videos, my camber was out quite a bit. And the reason for that was I didn't set my camber correctly when I put the arms on at first. So besides that, the kit has been very good to me so far. Installation, you guys saw, it was fairly straightforward. You have a couple fabrication things that you got to do. You have some welding, you have some cutting, you got to move around some stuff, you know, wiring looms and brake lines. You got to move all that stuff around to get the double shears on there, as well as the limit strap mount and all that. But other than that, it has been a good kit, a very easy kit to install for me. I did it in my driveway, no lifts, no fancy tools. I did it all with house tools, a bunch of Harbor Freight stuff, and I was able to get this thing installed within a couple days. Now back to the ride itself and trail performance. Holy crap, I understand now. I've always been like a big, you know, critic of long travel. I always felt like, why would I blow so much money on long travel when I could do a straight axle swap? I still feel like that in a lot of ways, but considering that I already have 2 trucks that are straight axle, one of them's gonna be on 1-ton soon, the other one's on Dana 44s, like I'm already going that direction. You know, it'll be cool to have a truck that I could drive around on the street as well as hit some whoops and actually have like a nice ride. Now I understand. IFS suspension, you gotta blow some money, you gotta do some things, you gotta tinker with it, you gotta deal with fucking alignment issues. Honestly, IFS suspension sucks, but if you do it right, you do get some benefits. And some of those benefits is that it rides very good, it'll flex decently. It's still going to be fragile until, you know, we start beefing it up, but I can finally understand why people throw long travel kits on their trucks, because it rides so good. Even if you're not aired down, right? If you're just driving on a fire trail trying to get to camp, I can blow through stuff that I'd normally be like, oh crap, I got to slow down for this. Nope, don't care now. I just drive through it. Don't even care anymore. Now, another thing I'll mention is the steering stops. Let me show you down here. So you can see on the bottom of the spindle right there, that's your steering stop. So you can see on mine where it actually hits the lower arm. Now, I don't know what the recommendation is, whether you're supposed to cut those off or not. I opted to not cut those off because I don't want to overextend the CV axle and then end up breaking something. So currently I have a much worse turning radius than I did stock. You know, the truck got wider, plus I have less turning than I normally would. So that is one downfall of what's going on up here. I mean, it makes a U-turn into a 3-point turn. That's just how it's got to be for now. If I cut those steering stops off, it would go back to normal. I'm sure it would be just fine. But like I said, I don't want to mess with that stuff because I don't want to break more axles. So until I upgrade my axles, do some RCVs, do some other shit, we'll just keep it as is, and then we'll continue to fine tune it as we go. Now for the future, what we're planning to do, because this video is going to be like a first impressions, you know, we used it a couple times, that way we can give you some real, you know, thoughtful, insightful feedback on the Wicked Creation setup. But what we're going to do in the future is I'm going to use it for probably the whole summer, then sometime in maybe, you know, fall or maybe early winter, we're gonna go and do a full review on the Wicked Creation setup. After I use it, after I daily drive it for a long time, after we hit some trails to where this suspension really settles in, right? Because I've only used it 3 times. It's only been a couple weeks. You know, I'm giving first impressions, which are very good, but I want to give you guys a long-term review in the future. So we're definitely going to be doing that. As for now, I absolutely love this kit and I can definitely recommend it. Now, the cool thing is they make these kits for a bunch of different vehicles, a lot of Toyotas, Ford Broncos. They have the 3.5 kit. They have a 5-inch kit. They have fabricated rear axles. They have 3-link kits. We might be doing some more stuff with Wicked Creations in the future. Definitely looking forward to working with them. They've been good to us on this kit. Whatever parts I needed, whatever spare parts I needed, they took good care of me. But final thoughts, it is so nice being able to just be excited to use the Tacoma again, right? For the past couple years, we've been using our other trucks. The Tacoma's just kind of been sitting there. Every time I would wheel it, it's kind of a chore. I'm worried about it breaking. I'm worried about it, how it rides. Now I'm really excited to be using this truck again because it rides so good. It's comfortable. You know, I got the AC, I got the nice tent. It's got 4 seats, I got the space. And as we start building this thing, it's gonna be ready for more rock crawling, more aggressive trails that we love to run. Anyways, I am rambling. That is gonna be it for our install and first impressions on the Wicked Creations 3.5 long travel setup for our Tacoma. I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, channels, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon. You also see for shirts, hats, hoodies, and all those other goodies. Dirt Nation Off-Road, BigCartel.com. Until next time, thank you guys. Let's get it.